Welcome to our POL 242 presentation by Pyongyang on factors of economic decline. Our research question is which factors best account for economic decline. We are using the failed states dataset, and for our dependent variable we are using the variable economy, which measures the concept of economic decline as stipulated by the failed states index, which measures several factors such as patterns of progressive economic decline of the society as a whole, as measured by per capita income, GNP, debt, child mortality rates, poverty levels, business failures and other economic measures, sudden drops in commodity prices, trade revenues, foreign investments or debt payments, the collapse or devaluation of the national currency, extreme social hardship imposed by economic austerity programs, the growth of hidden economies, and other factors. The techniques utilized for our research will be correlation, regression, and regression with control. Our first independent variable is chronic and sustained human flight, based on the failed states index, which is measured based on the brain drain of professionals, intellectuals, and political dissidents fearing persecution or repression, the voluntary emigration of the middle class, particularly economically productive segments of the population, such as entrepreneurs, business people, artisans, and traders, factors such as economic deterioration, the growth of exiled communities, and other factors. Our rationale for the relation between y and x1 is based off of the research of Nadim Haque and C.J. Kim, who argue human flight has negative implications contributing to economic decline due to the brain drain. We thus hypothesize based off of their work that human flight is a large determinant of economic decline because of the effects of the brain drain. As highly skilled workers leave, industries become less effective, which in turn contributes to economic decline. Our second independent variable is criminalization or the delegitimization of the state, which is measured based on several factors determined by the FSI, including massive and endemic corruption or profiteering by ruling elites, the resistance of ruling elites to transparency, accountability and political representation, the widespread loss of popular confidence in state institutions and processes, and the growth of crime syndicates linked to ruling elites. Our rationale for the relation between y and x2 is based off of the research of J. Pil Choi and Marcel Thum, who argue that the delegitimization of state and corruption creates indirect effects that lead to the systemic decline of the economy in place of a shadow economy. We thus hypothesize that a state that is more corrupt and delegit will thus have a declining economic situation. Our third independent variable is massive movement of refugees or internally displaced persons creating complex humanitarian emergencies, which as described by the FSI is measured based off of the forced uprooting of large communities as a result of random or targeted violence and or repression, causing food shortages, disease, lack of clean water, land competition, and turmoil that can spiral into larger humanitarian and security problems, both within and between countries. Our rationale for the relation between y and x3 is based off of the research of Patricia Ongpin, who argues that refugees can act as a burden on a host state if proper precautions are not taken due to the stretching of resources that occurs. Based on this, we hypothesize therefore that refugees are a large determinant towards economic decline because of infrastructural collapses due to the inability to handle an influx of displaced persons.
Since we are dealing with aggregate data, a correlation matrix was produced in order to show the statistical significance, strength, and explained variance of the relationship. By looking down the economy column, we can see how each variable correlates with economy. The Pearson's R value of each of the variables can be said to have a strong relationship with economy. Delegitimization of state, however, yields the highest result between the three variables with a Pearson's R value of 0.7502, resulting in an R-square value of 0.5628 or 56.3% of the explained variance in economic decline. The p-values of all three variables are 0.000, which indicates that each of the relationships are statistically significant. By comparing the results of the Pearson's R values for each of the variables as they correlate with economy, it can be seen that refugees have the least effect on economy out of the three, which should also be reflected when doing the regression analysis. After running a multiple regression on the four variables, it can be concluded that the results support each hypothesis except for the one pertaining to refugees. The t-ratio for refugees is 0.0662, which is above the 0.05 threshold, indicating that it is possible that the results could be due to chance. By comparing the b-value and beta value to delegitimization of government and human flight, refugees does not substantially affect economic decline in a state. When looking at delegitimization of government and human flight, we can gather that it is unlikely that the results are due to chance because their t-ratio is 0.0. Also, their b-values indicate that for each unit of change, there will be a 0.3458 or 0.3784 change in economic decline. This relates to the hypothesis which indicates that these variables would increase a state's economic decline. Also, the R-squared of this regression shows that the that this group of variables explains for 64.2% of the variation in economic decline, which means that there is a strong relationship between variables in a declining economy. The control variable that we will be utilizing to determine its effects on the independent variable as they relate to economy is external intervention. The rationale for this control is based off of James Traub's article called Think Again, Failed States. Traub says that there are some states at the top of the failed state rankings every year, except some states that have received external intervention and have responded positively to it. As a result, we can expect that this control would lower the effect of the three independent variables on economy, while itself be a high predictor in economic decline, for external intervention indicates that a state has hit a breaking point and is in need of help. Therefore, the elaboration model that we put forward is explanation. When controlling for external intervention, it is seen that the results of the past three independent variables have been lowered. According to the rule of thirds, both refugees and delegitimization of government have been lowered enough to have its previous results considered as explained by external intervention. Refugees have also received a b-value of 0.027, a beta of 0.03, and a t-ratio of 0.629, which indicates that the results have become insignificant. Human flight, on the other hand, still remains to be a strong predictor of economic decline, as it holds its t-ratio of 0.0 and was not affected enough by the inclusion of external intervention under the rule of thirds. As expected, external intervention received a high b-value of 0.357 and a beta of 0.373, indicating a strong relationship between it and economic decline. The elaboration model that we put forward was explanation. Due to the results of the hierarchical regression analysis, we have determined that while intervention may have explained refugees and delegitimization of government as it relates to economic decline, human flight still remains a strong predictor. As a result, both partial explanation and replication in the case of human flight relating to economic decline are the elaboration models that relate to these variables. By looking closer at the statistics available to us within the failed states index, we have determined that while each of the variables had their effect on the economic decline, it is also possible that economic decline could have an effect on each of them as well. As a result, future research would then need to be conducted on previous year's results and how they may have affected economic decline in 2007, as it would be the only way to ensure that these factors are a predictor and not just a result of economic decline.